Hey guys, this is Juno and welcome back to another Summoners War video. Today we'll be talking about week 4 of the 10 Years of Hall of Heroes event. Week 3, pretty solid. I've gotten a good number of comments saying that I was a little too soft on Diaz. Apparently a lot was happy that Diaz was up and available. I have to say that they're right. Yeah, Diaz is a very solid unit. If you don't have it, I will go for it. Because out of everything here, LDs are probably the most important ones to pick out, and out of them, Diaz is a solid one that is still currently usable and will be usable unless it gets a nerf in a way, right? Sylph, on the other hand, you're looking for a shot in the dark, hoping for a buff. Sadly, that didn't come with the last balance patch. Week 4 has some interesting options as well, and again, we'll be talking about each of them and their counterparts to help you decide on what to go for. So let's first talk about the Barbar King, right? The Barbar King, the fire one, really doesn't have a whole lot of use. It does have a interesting skill because I believe the skill 3 ignores death prevention. So for early game players, if you're having difficulty dealing with Garo defenses in Siege, it could be a good pick. And with these Berserk mechanic with these Barbar Kings, they output a lot of damage in that state, even if they're built tanky. The downside is that they become much squishier. I guess there are multiple ways of building this guy. Probably the best is Violent because you want to get more of the skill 3 up. Skill 2 to skill 3, a branding into its mega damage is probably the most ideal way that you want him to move. But as you guys know, he is not used a lot. I don't know anybody around me that actively uses him. Because to be fair, if you want to deal with death prevention, you could either just go with multi-hits in many cases. Garo, multi-hits. Triana, multi-hits. Because of that, I don't think he's such a great option if you want him. I'd rather pick him out for his LD, Hrungnir. I can't pronounce that name, but I know that's a solid damage dealer. Again, that a lot of people don't use. The LightOne, the Mimir, is an interesting one and a cool guild speed lead. Also very cleavish. All of these barbaric kings are very cleavish due to their barbaric state, their berserk state. So you guys have to keep that in mind if you're going to use them for guild content. If you're going to put them in defense, just know that there are these flaws. The berserk state is a double-edged sword. You could either win first turn or your damage dealer will just be absent first turn. Okay, I believe that this unit is not fusible. So if you do want him for skill ups, I understand, but out of all of their counterparts, I don't think you particularly want him for skill ups because I don't think any of them are used in a impactful way. I mean, you could argue like the wind one is a good attack bar booster, speed buffer. You could argue the water one is a decent water damage dealer that absorbs attack bar. You know, it's the old Oliver in a way. The light one is a guild speed lead and the dark one is a very good damage dealer. But if it was me, I don't think I would pick him out. Now, on the other hand, the Water Neostone Fighter, I think is pretty interesting. Again, another unit that you can't fuse. I think most of these units here doesn't have a fusible counterpart. There is a Magic Knight, and there's no Pirate Captain. So only one unit is fusible, and everything else, you have to pull it either for skill ups or if you want the unit. But Neostone Fighter got buffs a long time ago, and I think all of them have some interesting kits. I know the water one is actually pretty cool. I've seen a lot of people use him in the Nat 4 specially. I don't think I ever built him. Here he is. So his skill 3, okay, that's pretty whatever. The guaranteed crit is pretty cool and increases your attack bar proportionate to the enemy's lost HP from your attack. So if you do a lot of damage, there's a good chance you'll have decent attack bar after skill 3. Skill 2, attacks an enemy and inflicts continuous damage for 2 turns. This attack will also decrease the enemy's defense for 2 turns if it lands as a critical hit. Instantly gains another turn if the target's HP is less than 50%. Oh, okay, maybe it wasn't the water one. If skill 2 does decent damage, which is probably hard, right? I don't think the defense break lands first and the damage goes in. If you do a lot of damage, then he could connect it to skill 3 that always land as a critical hit. But if you really want skill 2 to do damage, you have to build him on crit anyways. So technically he still needs to be built on crit damage, it looks like, and crit rate. I thought it was Ryan that was the cool unit. I know the fire one is very decent as a damage dealer as well. He was good from the very start, I believe, even since I was playing. The passive is cool. As his HP decreases, the damage inflicted to the enemy will increase and the damage you receive will decrease. The damage you receive will decrease by 20% additionally if you're under harmful effects. So he has a built-in sustain of some sort, and I believe skill 2 also now recovers HP. So it increases your critical rate for 2 turns and instantly attacks an enemy with a powerful strike. In addition, it recovers HP by 30% of the inflicted damage. So I like this unit a lot more than the water one. And I do think he's a pretty cool bruiser. If you build him tanky, I think he still deals decent damage. And the fact that he has some innate sustainability is also cool. And he has pretty good base speed, 107. The wind one, maybe it was the wind one that was cool. I know one was cool. I could swear that it was the water one. Okay, so Logan, skill 2, attacks an enemy and inflicts continuous damage for 2 turns. This attack will also decrease the enemy's defense for 2 turns if it lands as a critical hit. Okay, so it's the same skill as the water one. The third one attacks the enemy with an attack that is guaranteed to land as a critical hit 2 times and decreases the attack speed for 3 turns. Each hit will also decrease the enemy's attack bar by 50%. If the enemy's attack bar gets depleted by this attack, you instantly recover your turn. I think this is a little more cooler. I don't know if this was the unit that I was talking about, but the fact that you deplete the opponent's attack bar and then you gain a turn is double the benefit. So I do think it's a better skill than the water one. Will I use it? I don't know. Should you use it? I don't know. If you're lacking a wind damage dealer, maybe. But this is all after knowing that you don't have the light pirate captain and the dark magic knight. Let's go look at the LightOne. Now, LightOne was used in siege defense a while back. I think it did die out. Also has a very cool skill 3, which is a passive. The attack performed on your turn will generate a shield that's equivalent to the damage dealt for 1 turn. Also increase your critical rate by 30% and damage proportionate to the shield amount granted on yourself up to 200% with each attack. I think that's really cool. It allows you to build him on 70% crit rate, and he has, again, sustainability and a lot of damage built into him. Skill 2, another defense break, and if it does a lot of damage, then you could gain another turn. So overall, the LightOne is much better in every way, and I do think that you could pull him in this Hall of Heroes event later on. So if you think you'll lack skill ups for this guy, and if you're going for him, then maybe yes, you could go for the Water Neilstone Fighter. The Dark One, I don't even remember what the Dark One does, because I think he's just bad. But bad might be a good thing, because bad might mean that he could get a buff. So Carl, oh no, I remember Carl. So he has a skill that always lands as a critical hit. People tried to use him as a kinky counter a long time ago. Attacks the enemy with an attack that is guaranteed to land as a critical hit, inflicting damage that ignores all damage resisting effect. This attack ignores all effects that resist death. Okay. It's also a counter to revives. Well, not revives, but death prevention. And you could build him on just a heavy crit damage build, no crit rate. Because you have skill 2, which also increases the critical rate for 2 turns and attacks the unit with a powerful strike. Actually, Curl is not that bad. So if you ever want to skill up your dark LD Neilstone fighters or the fire one, because I think they're all good units, you could pick up the Water Neilstone fighter. I am sure that there was somebody that used the water one, I think in Special League, and he used it pretty well, to be fair. If there's anybody out there using him, please let me know. Or any of these units. It looks like, to me, all of them are decent damage dealers. Now, the wind one is probably the more exciting one because it's the Cichlid. Although at this point, we all know that Cichlid is a very good siege defense unit. So people probably prioritize her and skill her up and have one at the very least. But if you're the very few that are unlucky with it, then I would go for this Mermaid. Especially if you also want to skill up the dark one or the light one, because we all know Molly is still decent, especially in offensive wise. I think Molly is very good in guild, and still somewhat in low arena defense. You could use her in defense, and even in RTA still comes out sometimes. I've met some. And the dark one, Beta, very decent healer that you could bring her into offense, and also sometimes a siege defense unit as well. Fire one I think is rarely used, but the Tetra is also a very good RTA unit, siege offensive unit. So Mermaid, really, if you have other mermaids that you want to skill up, there's no reason to skip her, especially if you have the Pirate Captain and the Magic Knight that are the LD options. I don't think I have to say more about this unit because we all know that the mermaids are almost all good other than the fire one, I guess. So I don't think it's ever a bad choice. It's actually a very good choice if you don't have the mermaid and if you want to pick her out. The LD units in this rotation, I have to say, are decent picks. Not because that they're good in any way, but because they're bad. Because they're bad, I do think it's a good option to pick out. Keep one, because you don't know if they'll ever get a buff. Like Lynette, which is the Dark Magic Knight, is bad. We all know that she's bad. What does she even do? Skill 3, Gravity Shot. Attacks the target with massive magic bullet, dealing damage according to the target's max HP. This attack also heals all allies for 30% of the damage dealt. So she's a damage dealer plus heals. But I believe that this multiplier is very low. It's not that high. Because if it feels really high, people will be using her in dungeon. Right? Because if it's according to a target's max HP, you will use her against the dungeon bosses because they have a lot of HP. But have you ever seen her being used in a speed team? Nope. Nope. It means that she's not that good. The multiplier is bad. Pirate Captain, I also don't know what this guy does. I don't even know his name. I know he's bad. Skill 3, attacks an enemy target and decreases attack power and defense, while preventing the target from receiving beneficial effects for 2 turns with a 75% chance. So it's a single target damage that also blocks beneficial effect. Skill 2, the typical Galleon skill 2, which absorbs attack bar. Very mediocre. They're both really bad. And I think we all know if you want skills for Galleon, yeah, Pirate Captain is also a very good option. And again, the hope for it to get buffed just because of that is a good option. And Magic Knight, if you're on Iris skill ups, I guess if you're on Ashtar skill ups, sure. Who knows? One small buff on these LD units can make it viable for like siege defense, siege offense. I don't want to say RTA because then it has to be a huge buff. But like these small buffs, interesting buffs, because they have interesting skill 3s, they could be usable in siege defense. And just by having that one duplicate or even 2, you know, depending on how many skill ups you need for your other counterparts, you might be able to build it right away and be like, I'm prepared for that. Always keep in mind, guys, per comment, like people have said, your first 2 options should be the Pirate Captain and the Magic Knight if you don't have the LD units. And after that, I think the best option, to be fair, is the Mermaid. I don't think you can go wrong with Cyclid, because yes, it did get nerfed, but you still see it a lot. So if you still see it a lot, means that it's a good unit. Hope that this video also again helped for your decision. To be fair, I think everything here is not bad compared to the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I didn't do week 1, so I'll say last 2 weeks, because first of all, most of them are not fusible other than the Magic Knight. So really, you don't even have to get it for the Ashtar skill up or anything because you can fuse it up. You'll only pick her out if you want her hoping for a buff. Other than that, everything else is not fusible. And if you need skill ups for any of these counterparts, they're all valid skill ups. They're all decent units. And I think it's a big plus to our accounts. Yeah, guys, but that was it. And I'll see you guys in the next list of Hall of Heroes. Bye.